Hey everyone, it's Lexi from LexiKotch.com. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a coach who works with women dealing with burnout, overwhelm, overwork, and not feeling amazing in their body. And I love to help women prioritize themselves because there's so many women that I know that are doing incredible work, working on their missions in this world and not prioritizing themselves, working so hard that they forget to take care of themselves. So I want to help you remember to take care of yourself so that your mission is even stronger. That is why we're here today talking with the lovely Rosalee de la Foret and getting some secrets and sneak peeks into how she balances the amazing work she's doing in this world, meeting her mission with taking care of herself. So, welcome Rosalee. She is the education director for Learning Herbs and has a book soon to be published, a really amazing book that I'm really excited about with Hay House that's coming out in 2017. So, we'll get right to it and find out from Rosalee, what is your mission in this life?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be here. My calling in life is about helping people learn about using medicinal plants and other natural health solutions so that they're really empowered to be a part of their health team. And I do this as a clinical herbalist. I teach online courses, and I also teach internationally at herbal conferences and also retreats.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what gave you the courage to start down the road toward this mission?
Um, well, I have always, as far back as I can remember, I've been interested in natural health. Like I remember being very young, like age 8, and thinking that going to the health food store was a really exciting activity for the day. So it's always been woven throughout my life. But it was, it's like a hobby, something I just thought that was kind of fun and interesting. And then when I was in my early 20s, I suddenly got really sick and I had joint pain throughout my whole body, couldn't get out of bed for a month, and finally ended up at the hospital. And after I worked with a team of specialists there, and after a couple weeks, they finally diagnosed me with having a very rare autoimmune disease called Still's disease. And because it's so rare, the doctors were really kind of perplexed. They didn't really know what to do. They gave me a brochure. They gave me a link to an online support group for the disease. And they basically said, all we can do for you is give you steroids, but it isn't curable. And this will be kind of the beginning of a slow decline to an early death.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot to take in. And,
Jeez.
at the time I thought that Western medicine was like the pinnacle of medicine, and that and initially I felt like, oh, they don't have answers for me, like I'm really screwed. But it wasn't too long after that I said to myself, like, well, I need to find out if there's someone else has answers to this. So I started seeing naturopaths and acupuncturists and herbalists, and started doing a lot of my own research into the causes for autoimmunity and what might be going on in my own life. And after doing a lot of intensive work on my physical health, after 6 months I was symptom free and
Wow.
of this incurable disease. And that
Good
was
for
just
you.
this huge paradigm shift for me. Yeah, I was just, I saw the world in a new light. And I realized that while Western medicine has so many things to offer us, and there's, a lot of just amazing things that Western medicine can do, that at the same time it's somewhat lacking in terms of chronic health issues and day-to-day, prevention and support. And so I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to helping people who had somewhat gone through the same circumstances I had, in terms of having this chronic disease, being told it could only be managed with pharmaceutical drugs, when really there's so many things we can do, in our own life to empower better health.
Yeah.
So that was the courage. It was really a big wake-up call for my own health, and then just wanting to help people who are in similar circumstances.
That's really inspiring. And you work with lots and lots and lots of people. Your reach is really far. And I know that work, can take over. You're so passionate about what you do and you touch so many people's lives. So what are the signals that your own body gives you and your own kind of inner life give you when you're starting to get out of balance in yourself while you're pouring so much out into the world?
Mm. I think probably the most honest answer to that question is that I'm currently working on that. But that's been my work this year. So I hope, I definitely am in a place now than, better place now than I was, say, a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I am really good at being really focused and driven and just really immersing myself into my work. And I like doing big projects. Like you mentioned this year, I wrote a book for Hay House. That was a big project. I launched an online course. That was a big thing. But what I tend to do is just like throw myself into it so headfirst and just really immerse myself into it that I block out everything else except for this thing. And what typically happens is that I do the project. I have, these moments of elation when it's finished, and then I just crash. And I crash mentally, physically. I get what I call the blahs, where I just feel like nothing. And sometimes, depending on the project, that might happen to me for weeks. And so in working with you this year, I was becoming more aware of that. I mean, obviously I knew that was a pattern, but I started to think like, oh, this isn't like great. And why is this happening? And what can I do to prevent it? And, basically the problem was I was so focused on everything and ignoring, basically me as a person, that I was leading to that place. And so what I've learned to do is just regular check-ins with myself. And this is such a simple thing that's had such a profound impact in my life. But basically what that means is I have these 2 questions that I ask myself throughout the day. The first question is, how do I feel right now? And then the second question is, what can I do to take care of myself? And first of all, just asking the first question is like, it can just bring me such a huge sense of relief. I think maybe because it's like, I'm just acknowledging that I'm here. And so it just feels like, oh, that feels so good. And then oftentimes there's something I can do to take care of my needs right then. And it's oftentimes simple things like a tea break or going on a walk. Sometimes I am kind of a big wake up call and it's like, oh, I've been really working at this hard. I need to take a 3 or 4 day weekend, which being an entrepreneur, I can, and create my own hours, just whatever it needs. But it's such an empowering thing to just say, how am I feeling and how can I take care of myself? And by regularly doing that, I'm hoping to avoid these crashes at the end and just have a more balanced life in general.
Yeah, good for you for taking that time and for honoring yourself enough to ask, what am I needing? I'm valuable enough more than this work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you feel like this has strengthened your mission currently? Like all of this work that you've done and taking these breaks throughout the day, just those little tiny check-ins, those questions. How is that strengthening what you're doing?
Well, kind of in so many ways. Like, and so I feel like it's just like so many different places that it weaves into my life. One is that I just feel more attuned to the joy and happiness that's in my life, because by checking in with myself and taking care of my needs, it's just like it is a place of empowerment. And because of that, it like creates this huge sense of relief, or unburdening the weight on my shoulders kind of thing. I'm sure part of that's stress relief, because I certainly feel less negative effects of stress when I'm tuned in with myself and taking care of myself. But it's so much more than that. It's just like this whole package of just feeling a lot happier and healthier within myself. I also really like it because it's like walking my talk. I consider myself an herbalist primarily, so working with medicinal plants, but certainly I recognize that diet and other lifestyle choices, sleep, exercise, and the importance of inner work, is just as important as herbs, if not more important in many cases. So it's just nice to be able to say, have that empowerment in my own life to say, yes, I'm working on my health in a holistic way, just the way I expect my clients to do the same.
Right.
Another way is that I feel I'm becoming an increasingly better communicator on so many levels. Like, I communicate better with myself. I'm just more in touch to how I'm feeling and can, work through things more easily, but also a better communicator with my friends and family, and also my students and my clients. And I'm just quicker to pick up when something's, kind of off or something's not working for me. I just pick it up a lot quicker and I'm able to create proactive steps. So I'm moving through it. And then I'm also just in that way things aren't festering. It's just like kind of like, oh, this isn't working. I recognize it. I can deal with it, and then I can move forward with it. And that feels really good too.
Yeah, I'm sure that feels good. I like what you said just about it's a holistic approach. You're working with people in their holistic healing, and you're also working on your own holistic healing. So it feels like you're really showing up whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you feel like? So there's a lot of women that we know and that are just out there in the world that are just called and are doing just incredible things and with their life, or they have visions of what they want to be doing. What do you think is important for them to know as they go through this journey? Some of them might be experiencing this overwhelm or burnout or these symptoms in their body. What might be some tips you could give or little secrets you could give to kind of help push them along on their way as they work toward their missions?
Yeah. I just, thinking about my own life and just how I've come up against like obstacles or challenges or just times I felt stuck or disconnected. In those times, there's been essentially barriers that were either invisible to me or even that I knew about. But those barriers were just stopping me from moving forward. And kind of the most, there's the barriers that we have, but we don't know how to move forward with, or even the barriers we don't even know we have, therefore we don't even know how to move forward with. And having, our weekly chats have been so helpful for that. And just having these check-ins, how do I bring consciousness to these barriers and then moving through them. And for me, personally, this is just my own thing, but maybe a lot of women might see themselves in this too, is that I'm really good at having judgment against myself or self-criticism. And that was really limiting to me and really keeping me in a stuck place. And I've really appreciated this ability to just be consciously aware of the voices in my head, to be able to separate, what are the inner critics versus, what is my heart speaking and what does my heart need. That's been a huge thing for me, as well as acknowledging the gift of the inner critic. My inner critic's done a lot for me. I mean, it's definitely in my, looking back in my life, I can say, oh yeah, I can see why that was needed. But on the same time, as I'm continuing to evolve, I'm recognizing that I don't need judgment and inner criticism to be the loudest voice in my head. And so acknowledging it has really just helped to dampen it, because I think my coping mechanism before was to attempt to ignore that, even just attempt to ignore when things weren't working. But it's never like it goes away. It's not really ignoring. It's always like there, like
pushing it off a little, or
it's just still there. And whereas the word, the tools I've gotten now, it's kind of like, acknowledging it's there, hearing what it needs to say and what, what's really going on underneath the layers, and then being able to actually like move through it instead of just kind of staying stuck. So, for me, I love my work. I love it on so many different aspects. I love learning about herbs. I love learning about marketing even. I love, creating writing. I love working with people. There's so many things I love that I have invested a lot of time and energy in terms of like the physical mechanics of my calling and making things work. And it's been a real gift to me to, instead of just investing on like my new email platform, to invest on who I am as a person, my evolving inner landscape, and really placing value in who I am. And ultimately, coming from a place of empathy and self-love, self-care. And that ultimately makes my work stronger, because even though I've always loved my work, it's never a burden. I'm able to come to it with a happier and healthier sense of being that I think just permeates everything I'm doing.
I love that. Just investing as much in yourself as you are investing in all of that stuff outside of yourself. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Is there anything else you want to share or add? It's sitting there on the tip of your tongue.
I think the ultimate benefit that I've gotten, I would say like the difference between me now and me a year ago is that a year ago I had this amazing life. And I knew it, like rationally speaking, I know I have this amazing life. I'm so blessed. But it's like I knew it on paper. I knew it
Mm,
rationally. And I feel like I wasn't really able to feel the joy and happiness of my amazing life. And I feel like that's one of the biggest benefits that I've gotten from this is being able to just sink into the beauty around me, to be just happy and grateful and present for the wonderful life that I have.
yeah. I love hearing that. So, can you tell us what your website is so that people can come find out more about your powers and your magic?
Sure. Sure. My website is herbswithrosalee.com. And on there, I have tons of articles about herbs, articles about diseases and how herbalists approach working with chronic diseases. And I also have an ebook there on the top 3 herbs for your health, which goes over my 3 favorite herbs, and it can be downloaded for anyone who visits the site.
Cool. Well, it is such an honor that I get to talk to you today and regularly. It really, really is. So thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
Well, thank you, Lexi.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.